Hey, this is Amiko, and this is part 4 of my Designing a Collection series. And in this part, I'll be showing my design process for some of the more dressy pieces in my collection. And these pieces are probably my favorite out of the collection, so I'm really excited to show my sketches, tech packs, prototype samples, and then the final results. I think what I love about this style is that it's unexpected. I haven't really seen this before, and I love the idea of like doing a fun pant because that's something that you normally don't find. And the design is actually quite simple. It's just like a slight flare leg with 2 rows of flounces at the front and the back. So looking at the prototype, the silhouette wasn't what I had intended. It's hard to tell from the photo, but I think what's happening is that the panels between the flounces are too tight, and it's causing the whole pant to like wrap around. And so what I asked for is to increase the flare on each panel so that the pant would graze the leg, and then you would get the full flared silhouette with flounces inserted into each of the seams. Like, they nailed it. I loved the final production sample. It's super comfortable. There's an elasticated waistband, and the fabric and the lining is like pretty stretchy, so it's very comfortable. And yeah, I love the style. I'm really happy with how it came out. And I just love a kimono. I'm part Japanese, so growing up we always like had kimonos in the family that had been like passed down, and it's just always been like part of my life. So I just have always found them to be really useful, and I just like love them as a layering option. So for this kimono, I wanted to do a printed mesh. I love the way that mesh drapes, and I thought doing a kimono with like a bunch of like ruffles and a handkerchief hem and like super feminine and like fairy-like. I just wanted to like really push the feminine vibe. I love how you can take a kimono and like throw it on something that's more casual, and it instantly gives you like this kind of glam, elegant vibe. I also live at the beach, so I'm always like kind of thinking about beach cover-ups. I usually wear like old shorts and a shirt, and it's not cute, but in my like fantasy, I'd be wearing this like, whoa, dramatic kimono that like blows in the wind and has like all these ruffles and whatever. There's a lot of details on this kimono, like lots of flounces, ruffles, handkerchief style hems, and lots of layers as well. And how each layer is hemmed is really important because I don't want it to like weigh down the garment. Of course, I did research and I looked up images of how certain mesh garments were hemmed. I think that the pearl stitch, like a flat pearl stitch for this style, would be the best. Looking at the prototype, it just looked like a little bit flatter and less full and dramatic than I wanted, so I drew over the prototype sample and I just like emphasized all the flounces, you know, the different like tiers, the handkerchief hem that was missing in the prototype, and I wanted to make sure to register that. When I got the production sample, I was so happy because it was like, it just felt really over the top and really special. One self-critique I have is that the garment ended up being much longer than I intended, and that's because mesh is so open, and once I add like all the ruffles and all the layers and all that heaviness, it kind of just like stretches and gets like super long. So in hindsight, I should have made it a bit shorter. Next design is a mesh Ditsy dress, so keeping the same theme of a printed floral mesh, but then taking that floral pattern and then making it tiny in a Ditsy print. I thought would like kind of be a nice cohesive way to add to the collection. And so for this style, I wanted it to be slightly A-line, but with an asymmetrical neckline and asymmetric draping. Felt like because the style is like so cute and girly with the Ditsy print and with like the A-line silhouette, I wanted to do something that felt unexpected, and I feel like asymmetry is like a nice way to break up some of that femininity. Looking at the prototype, there's a couple of things that I'm noticing. Number one, the draping and the neckline, it just looks off. It doesn't look intentionally asymmetric, and that's always something that like I think about, because when playing with asymmetry, if it doesn't look totally intentional, it ends up looking like a mistake. So I drew over the style to try to illustrate that. When I got the production sample, I loved the print, I love the fabric, I love the idea. One thing though, I feel that it could have been, I don't know if I would have made this an asymmetric style. When I'm reading the reviews, some people were like, oh, the neckline's off. So, you know, back to the whole thing of like, if it's not super intentionally asymmetric, people will think it's a mistake. And it's not a mistake, it was intentional. Designer here trying to be cool, but I think maybe I could have done a better job with the design. I think it could have also been executed a little bit better, but I still really like it. I still think it's cute, so. Okay, so the next design, love this style. I call this the metallic baby doll dress. This design has like a draped one shoulder with like a twisted bust design, and then it's just like a big trapeze shape, and this fabric is pleated, and it has like this really beautiful rose gold color. The length is actually a T length. It's not a maxi dress. Instead of like hitting at the floor, it hits right above the ankle. I love that length because it's like easy to move and walk around, and then you don't have to worry about getting it hemmed. Plus, if you're on the shorter side, it might read more like a maxi, and then if you're on the taller side, it would read more like a T-length dress. So I love that versatility in fit across different body types. Also, originally, because it just is sort of strapless with a little shoulder detail, I didn't want it to fall down. A lot of times, if strapless dresses don't have some type of like corseting construction on the inside, they're not like sturdy enough to stay up on the bust, and the whole night you'll just be like pulling it up. So I did not want that to happen. So I asked for the corseting, but because of costing, it was like too expensive. So they're like, we can't do the corset. So I was like, oh, okay, how do we make sure this dress stays up? The solution was to add this tape that has kind of like a rubber finish, and that is like, it gets stuck on the skin and then it doesn't fall down. So I was really excited to like try this on to see if that solution worked, and it totally did. It totally stays in place, and I actually like it better without the corset because it's not constricting. For the prototype sample, originally I wanted this to be in like this really beautiful caramel pleated velvet, and then I thought about it and I'm like, dude, this is for spring. And even though Shein is an international brand and like spring where I live is not the same as spring somewhere else, it doesn't really matter. But for my peeps at home, I was like, I cannot give them a velvet dress during April. So I changed it to be this like metallic-y, like much lighter weight, rose gold metallic pleated fabric that I absolutely love. And all in all, final production sample, couldn't be happier. This is one of my most favorite pieces in the collection. This is like the most comfortable dress you'll ever put on. It just like sits on the bust, it doesn't move, doesn't go anywhere. Also the shoulder strap really helps. And then it just comes in here and it just flares out. You don't have to like worry about your stomach or wearing Spanx. Like, it's just such a nice dress to like feel sexy and feel free in. So very happy with this design. Lastly, I have the open back trapeze dress. It's always interesting to see what people end up really liking and what sells the most, because it's not always what you had in your mind initially. Like for this design, although I love this piece, obviously I would never put anything out there that I didn't love, I didn't realize like how well it would do, and that kind of surprised me. It also wasn't surprising because looking back and looking at the design, it's just so easy. It's such an easy spring summer piece. It's lightweight, you can just throw it on, you don't have to like feel constricted or feel like you're wearing something like tight and revealing. It's nice and short, and it has that great detail of being open back, so you get like the sexiness there. And I love the idea of designing things that aren't like overtly like, look at me, look at my body, but there's some detail that brings your eye in and like shows and highlights a nice feature like the back. When I first saw the prototype, I'm like, oh my god, we gotta do something here, because it wasn't the silhouette, it wasn't really reading like a trapeze shape. It was kind of like coming in awkwardly at the waist and then coming out again, and then the same thing with like the seams at the sleeve. It just, I didn't like how much it was breaking the silhouette. It was doing like I wanted to be doing just wanted like a straight trapeze. So a lot of times that's just in like the length of the panels. The team was able to correct that, and they made it look so awesome. Another thing I did was I took off, like, there was this really cool draping tie detail at the neck. I think it was just a little bit too complicated, so I just like took that off. I felt like the open back detail was enough. We didn't need to go crazy with the details up at the neck. It was also feeling a little stuffy. So yeah, super simple, but it works. And I wanted like a really crisp white on this style, and I ended up getting an eggshell white, which I was like stomping my feet like, oh, I want it white. But really looking back, I'm so glad that it ended up being eggshell white, because pure white would have been so see-through. And I actually ended up loving this like off linen white kind of vibe. I just think it's like very pretty and very easy. So sometimes when things aren't exactly what we want, we end up getting something better. So that's a little wisdom that I got from designing this piece. If you've watched all 4 parts of this, then thank you so much. It's nice to know there's like people out there that like nerd out on this stuff as much as I do. And if you like this content, subscribe to my channel and you'll get an update anytime I like put out new stuff. And I'm actually currently working on something else that you will get more notifications on in the near future. Yeah, it's been real. Thanks again for watching. Oh, and also I forgot to mention, if you like any of these pieces, I'll leave a link to shop in the video description. I also made a blog post that correlates with each part in this series. If you want to look at that for any reason, I'll leave a link in the video description as well. But yeah, thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.